Hey, so in this video, I'm gonna go through how to set up sidechain compression in Logic Pro. Also, I'm gonna show you creative ways you can use it and how you can sidechain a kick that you can't even hear. Okay, so to start off, let's just quickly go over what sidechain compression is. For all intents and purposes, sidechain compression is when you take one instrument and route it so its volume is reduced by the volume of the second instrument. It's a very basic explanation, very broad stroke, but it's gonna do for what we need. So in most of my music, I like to have some sort of ambience. And to give it some motion, I calmly sidechain it to the kick, so it will duck out of the way when the kick drum hits. So yeah, that's a classic example. To do this, load Logic's compressor plugin, or really any compressor plugin you may have, and route the sidechain to your kick channel. Play around with the threshold, the attack, and the release until it sounds good to you. Those are going to pretty much be the three controls that affect the groove and the pumping effect. Threshold will control how drastic it will duck the sound, so the lower you bring it, the more drastic the ducking effect will be. Attack controls how quickly the duck will happen and start, and then release will be how quickly the sound will return to its original volume. So yeah, once you dial that in, you can duplicate that compressor to any channel that you want to add sidechain compression to. I commonly add it to my synth pads. I'm going to back off on the threshold, so it's not just a static sidechain sound for all instrument across the board. It's helpful to just have slight variations and just make each instrument groove in its own unique way. Another trick that I found that has been so helpful for gluing all my drums together is using sidechain compression on both my hi-hats and my crash cymbals. When you use really fast release times, it gets into distortion territory. When a kick drum hits, it will distort the cymbal. Gives so much vibe to your drums and just glues it together. And what's fun in Logic, it gives you a bunch of different styles of compressors you can select from. You got your FET, your VCA, and your Opto. Playing around, I noticed Opto gives a lot more distortion. I decided to leave it on Studio FET. I felt that was like a nice balance of distortion and
vibe.
But yeah, feel free to dial it in as subtle or as drastic as you want. Okay, so let's get a bit more creative. What if you want a pumping effect to your instruments without having to hear a kick drum? Or you have a different style of drum beat and it's not 4 to the floor, but you still want the pumping underneath to give a sense of time and rhythm. There's a lot of third-party plugins that do this, but you don't need to spend money for that when you can actually just do it with all your stock plugins. So yeah, duplicate your kick channel, name it sidechain, just so you can find it really easily with any compressor plugin. Go back to the compressors that you created and route them to the sidechain kick versus the regular kick you had. Go over to the output of that channel, change it so it has no output, and then you can drag any kick pattern onto that and it will affect the compressors and the sidechains without actually having to hear the kick drum. You can even do this with Logic's Drum Machine Designer. Change it to no output. It helps if you shorten the decay of your kick drum sound. So I usually just fade it out really tight. Gives it way more flexibility for different rhythms. And yeah, you can just play it in. Super fun. To help speed up your workflow, I definitely recommend just setting up a template for yourself. Have a sidechain track with no output already created and a compressor on each of your instrument buses and have them routed to that. You can just on the fly just start dragging in kick drums to just start creating fun rhythms or just duplicating the kick pattern you already have. But yeah, sidechain everything. Why not? The best way to learn is by overdoing and putting too much of one thing on something and then realizing, okay, I can just dial it back a little bit. All right, happy experimenting. I'm Boyish. See you later.